Welcome to the official podcast of Cardinals Nation 24/7. Each week, we put a unique perspective on bringing you the latest news, updates, and rumors of the St. Louis Cardinals baseball organization. Join the nation and stay informed by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, subscribing to us on the podcast form of your choice, and most of all, by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you all for supporting the nation. Let's get things started. Here are your hosts, Jared Redwine, Chris Lawless, and Larry Cox.
Hello, Cardinals Nation, and welcome to another episode of the Cardinals Nation 24/7 live video podcast. I'm Jared Redwine, joined as always by my friends and my co-hosts, Chris Lawless, the founder of Cardinals Nation 24/7, and the living legend Larry Cox. Chris, how are you tonight?
Doing good. We've got the game on, watching a rally at this moment, so it's a good night.
What about you, legend? How's your evening?
No, it's been well. Anytime we back through the lineup and back through the order in an inning, that's great.
Yeah, I know I was actually depressed coming into this game after dropping 3 straight, and I thought, well, great, let's do the podcast and cover all the bad stuff. Now we're on a high note. We've delayed recording because we've been watching the game together, basically. So let's get things started. Let's kick off tonight's game, which this is on Tuesday, the 13th. This is manager Mike Shildt's 300th game as the Cardinal manager. Chris, quick, go to you real quick. What do you think? Quick performance review on Shildt so far and his 300 games behind him.
I do like the guy. I think he's, a player's coach. For somebody that hasn't been a player before, I think he has a good relationship with the team. There are some times where, batting DeYoung cleanup, it kind of drives me nuts, when he's been struggling and throwing Webb out there 8 days a week. But, all in all, he's he's a good manager. I'm glad we've got him, and I think he's going to have a long tenure of success as Cardinal manager.
Larry, what about you? How would you rate Shildt so far? I know he does have a Manager of the Year award under his belt, but so far, and I guess most recently this season, what do you think so far of the job Shildt's done for the team?
Well, I think as far as his career here, I think he's been the right guy at the right time. I think him coming in and filling in for Matheny when he left, I think that was kind of it was a positive in the right direction because he does use sabermetrics. He does understand the players' perspectives. He's been around the game his whole life. He kind of worked his way through the minors all the way to where he is now. So I think it's really been a good fit for the Cardinals. Like Chris said, I think he's going to be the manager for a long time. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be hard to get rid of him. Because I think he is liked by everybody, contrary to what our group on Facebook says, that I think he's very good. He's very solid. The old adage is an X and O guy, and I think he's really good at that.
What is your take on that so far, Chris, with his management of the bullpen? Since Larry brought it up, I know you've been a little critical of some of the bullpen usage. Let's get into that real quick. What do you think so far?
I don't know. Webb's had a couple, rocky outings, but for the most part, he's been all right. I know last night he come in and got the job done, but he has played, I think, every game but one he's pitched in. And, at this rate, we're not even into May, and you're going to have so many innings logged on that arm. And then you look at, somebody like an Andrew Miller, who a lot of people, they're like, he just isn't the same pitcher. Well, then you're kind of caught between those two, and Genesis Cabrera is your only lefties in the pen. You just can't keep going to Webb. And then as far as the lineup, DeYoung went 0 for 19 and is still getting plugged in that cleanup spot. We kind of would think Carlson might get bumped up, but then if you move DeYoung down, you've got a bunch of guys that aren't hitting at the bottom of the lineup. So, you got to trust the guy. I mean, he's a manager for a reason, and we're sitting here doing a podcast for a reason.
Yeah. Larry, what do you think so far? Management of the bullpen / batting order. I know I was kind of critical of the batting order last week, and there hasn't been a lot of changes. We've got Carp in there, and thank goodness he's shown some improvement. We'll get into that a little bit later, but just his staggering and his positioning of the lineup hasn't made a lot of sense to me this year. But the year is early. Maybe we're being overly critical.
I think the Carp thing, I think your hands are kind of tied. I think just knowing that the salary they have tied up in him, you have to get in those at-bats, and the best time to do that is in April, because if he doesn't have any success in April, then he won't be around here in May. So then you've got those young guys that are on the taxi squad or are on the alternate site. But I mean, with DeYoung, I don't, for the life of me, I can't figure out why they keep dropping him the 4th spot. It doesn't make sense. But looking across the board, our whole outfield's not hitting. So who do you put in the 4th spot? Like we said preseason, I thought we kind of spring training, we all talked maybe Carlson bat second. Maybe DeYoung could drop into second, then him have both Arenado and Goldie behind him. Maybe that's the optimum spot for him. Because then he will get those fastballs, and we know he turns on the fastballs.
Speaking of the outfield and outfield production, Larry, that's going to segue us into our next topic. Tyler O'Neill went down. He pulled his groin, not back at the hotel, but actually in game action. So he's going to be out for a short period of time. If you guys hadn't laughed, if you guys couldn't have, if you guys wouldn't have been laughing, I'd have been fine.
Pulled groins are so fun sometimes.
So Neil's going to miss some playing time, and everyone should be happy because Lane Thomas is now back on the team. He made his way from the taxi squad to the big league roster, and we saw him get into game action pretty quick, and we haven't really seen much of him since. And also what we talked about, too, with outfield production, they've put Tommy Edman has been slotting to the outfield more and more like he did today. So Edman has now been slotting into the outfield, it feels like, more and more, and that kind of will maybe is a way to sneak the outfield production numbers to trend upward because Edman has been playing quite well. What do you think so far of our de facto second baseman now / outfielder, Chris? Everyone was worried about Wong being out, who's now since been placed on the injured list whenever he made his return to St. Louis. Edman's been a pleasant surprise, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I would prefer to see him, kind of stick at second base. But I mean, again, if you're going to see what you have in Carpenter, you have to kind of give him some spots here in April. As far as the outfield, I mean, when you're without O'Neill and Bader, you're kind of forced in your hand of having to put Edman out there, especially with Dean and Williams have kind of been coming on as of late, but they started off really slow. And then you've got Lane Thomas that's just recently got called up from the taxi squad. So, I mean, it's looking like Bader ain't going to be coming back for a while. O'Neill, I don't know how serious that is, but, those are two guys that defensively bring a lot to the table. Offensively, even though O'Neill started hot in game one, he kind of his back cooled and he was striking out at a high rate. That's something the Cardinals outfield we thought coming in could be problematic. It could be great is if they all got on fire, but if all the bats go cold, you're looking at a very inexperienced outfield that there's just nobody there that has that true consistency. And even though Carlson, he's kind of living up to the hype right now. I mean, he's going to have some sort of, rookie worry about, you don't want to put too much on his plate of having to carry the load. So Edman out there, I think that does help having some offensive production coming out from the outfield.
Yeah, it doesn't put as much of a spotlight on Carlson as it normally would, because I think when we were talking in the beginning of the season, how the outfield's going to look offensively, a lot of that was going to be based off of Carlson's numbers. And if Carlson did well, then the outfield's not going to look as bad. But now we've got Thomas on the team, Larry, and I would personally like to see Thomas in center, get some decent reps there, move Carlson over to right. I know you've been a big fan of trying to put him in his natural right field position and let him play, and then let Edman play over in left. I don't have a problem with Carp getting some reps at second base against right-handed hitters. At least see what he can do. It's no different than running Williams or Dean or someone out there and kind of give him a little bit of a chance to have some production. And if he keeps trending downward, into May and June, then maybe you don't give Carp as many chances. What do you think, Larry, so far, with the whole Edman shuffle? He's been performing quite well with Carp getting his fair reps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking long-term is with Edman. So is he our heir apparent to second base indefinitely? Is he a stopgap until we, maybe Gorman's that second baseman of the future, DH? We don't know yet. But I've advocated several times that let's just put Carlson in right field and leave him. Let the kid get his lumps in right field, play the position. Who knows? Maybe he becomes a Gold Glove and a potential 300 hitter. We haven't had that. We have just had that punch from the right field position, and that's why I think putting Carlson there and leaving, I think that's the best thing that they could do. And Edman, I think the guy's athletic enough that he can play anywhere that we put him. I mean, he played shortstop some last year and he played third base mostly, but he can play the outfield. And I even said before, if nothing else, move him to center field, let him have the center field position and move Carlson to the right field. I'd rather see that part-time Edman in center field than I would see Carlson jumping in and out of position all the time. So,
yeah, ideally I would like to see Thomas in center, Edman in left, and Carlson in right if you're going to start Carp, and then if not, I would just let Dean and Williams fight out left, depending on if it's a righty or lefty. If it's a right-handed pitcher, then let Williams play. If it's lefty, then put Dean out there. That's my thought. Or even maybe Nagowski if it's a lefty and you're not going to have Carp in the game, then you put Edman in second and let Nagowski start, because that's another thing too, Chris. The big Nagowski, he hasn't had a chance to really play. We haven't seen much of him. We just had bases loaded again a bit ago, and Dean got the call. We haven't seen Nagowski really get any fair chances. Are you surprised at that so far?
I am, just because, he earned his spot, obviously, by having a terrific spring. And to have him come up, we didn't think he was going to get a spot every day. But, when especially the season began and you're trotting Williams out there and Dean, and they had like the combined 0 for 19, at that point, what is it going to hurt to have had Nagowski get a start in a corner outfield spot just to give him 4 or 5 at bats? But he's come in and pinch hit a few times. He's got hit by a pitch, but that's, he's not getting really, I don't know. It's a hard job to come off the bench in a pinch hit situation and to be locked in, to be tearing it up down in spring and then just come in and you're kind of getting an occasional at bat. You're just cooling the bat off, which to me, doesn't make sense of why you carry him.
Yeah, Larry, you have to think too, it's paying off tonight, but Williams keeps getting extended long looks. I know they like his left-handed bat, but Nagowski, we haven't seen much of it all, even when it's been a right-handed lineup. But then you have, Edman, who's playing well. I would say after tonight, Carp would get another look just to try to keep that momentum going. He's got 3 RBIs this evening, hit a home run, just to keep the positive flow going forward. You would expect Carp to hopefully play again tomorrow. What are your thoughts so far? Nagowski? He's kind of just been lost in the shuffle at this point. It looks like next time they make a taxi man move, it's going to be him as the odd man out.
Yeah, I think because you weren't counting on him, I think he is that collateral damage, so to speak, that, nobody's counting on him. So I would like to see him get more at bats. I mean, I hate when a guy comes up and they put him on the roster and he just sits there and basically dies. Mm-hmm. Sosa be the other guy in this roster that's kind of lost in the shuffle as well. Those 2 guys, I think they ought to get those opportunities. But I understand that, you're wanting to see what you got in Williams. So he's the carpenter without the salary right now, basically. So because he's, what are you going to do with him? Keep him as in the future. You got to kind of establish those. In April's that time when you really want to see what you have. Whereas Nagowski, I mean, he's not going to unseat anybody in the outfield as a starter. So he's going to be that power bat, but you still got to get him at bats. Because if you're looking, bases loaded, 2 outs in the 9th inning, and your only guy sitting on the bench is Nagowski, then he hasn't had a bat in, 35 games, then what happens?
Yeah, sometimes you got to think when you don't have good production, you have to give them a chance, because, Dean and Williams have been getting plenty of opportunity. And up until, today, Dean's had a couple of stuff here and there. And even his home run he had recently was, in a game we were already trailing in by quite a bit. So you'd think he would at least get, a few more looks than he currently has. But, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with this at bat here. And maybe he'll start to, take advantage of his rare pinch hit opportunities and try to piece something together. Speaking of odd moves, also, Larry mentioned Sosa's basically hasn't played at all. We haven't even really seen him do much of anything. The Oviedo, he came in for Ponce, who Ponce hasn't looked very good at all and has been getting rocked around. Oviedo came in and looked really good in the appearance after, Ponce had a rough outing and was taken to the bench. And, everyone is clamoring for him to start. And the 3 of us, I know we've talked, we think he should have an opportunity to, start coming up soon. We think he's got some pretty good stuff and looks sharp every time he's making an appearance. Even last year, he's one of our top prospects. But then all of a sudden he gets, sent down and they call up Cody Whitley. What do you think the thought process behind that so far, Chris?
I think the main reason for that, and there was a lot of fans in the group that, upset about that, like they're punishing Oviedo for having a good outing. I look at it like he come up, he had quite a few innings. They're not going to reuse him immediately, so it makes sense to go ahead and get a fresh arm back up in Whitley. I don't think that means Oviedo is staying down at the alternate site, very long. I just think because he pitched last night, he wasn't going to pitch tonight or probably tomorrow. So go ahead and do the swap now. It's concerning that the whole starting rotation for us can't get past 5 innings. And that I think is a lot of why you seen Woodford go down as he was, seeing some outings. You're going to Webb constantly. The starters need to go longer, and it's kind of tough because you want to pull for a guy like Wainwright. You want Flaherty to be the ace. You don't want Martinez to be the head case that he's kind of looked a little lost up there. And then you got Kim coming back soon, so. The Cardinals have a lot to figure out with the rotation. I don't really have a problem with Oviedo going back down. I think we're going to see a lot more of him in the near future, especially given that the Cardinals have rumored to be in on doing a 6-man rotation. Shilt's kind of brought that up that they may toy with that when they've got like a 17 straight game stretch, that they may go with a 6-man rotation.
Yeah, what do you think, Larry, so far in Oviedo, and then with Whitley getting the call up when he got sent down, and with the whole Ponce debacle and not looking too sharp this season?
So again, I think it's right now. Again, it's April. You're trying to get those arms stretched out. You're trying to figure out who your guys are going to be. The Ponce falling off the other day. That's just a young guy. It's going to happen. I wouldn't read a whole lot into it after one game, because his first game he looked fairly comfortable, and I thought he pitched well. Whereas Gant, his first game got shelled. The second game he looked better. So I think it's more about just getting those guys out there and get a constant, a push. But then, like you said, with Kim returning and Michaelis coming back, we don't know what that rotation is going to end up looking like. Is Waino at his age, is he going to continue to sustain 5 or 6 innings for a season? We do have that pitching depth. They just don't have the resume yet. And I think that's the biggest part. Just got to get the innings in.
Yeah, and speaking of which, they did announce today Kim is going to make his return Saturday in Philadelphia. And with that move, Ponce has been sent to the bullpen. Again, is going to remain the number 5 starter for now. Still no word on Michaelis and what his outcome is. But like Chris, you mentioned, these guys got to go deeper into some of these games. Gallegos has been used a lot. I think he got knocked around a little bit yesterday. And I think it's from, consistent use these guys are looking at, but we've got to find a way somehow to get our guys deeper into the game, and our offense has to click more like they're doing tonight. But your thoughts on Kim coming back? That should probably, at least we'll see what he can do, but hopefully it helps the rotation and gives us a little bit of a different look with a left-handed starter.
Yeah, I know he had gotten stretched back to where they feel comfortable bringing him up, and really you don't know what to expect from him. You want him to do well, and I think he will, but you don't want to also put all your eggs in one basket and think he needs to come up and be the savior. This needs to be from the top to the bottom of the rotation, everybody pitching better. Jim Edmonds has talked about during Flaherty's outings that he gets high into the pitch count because he's trying to work the corners, and he's getting just a high number. When you're getting 100 pitches in the 5th inning, you're not going past that. And so these guys, even Hicks hasn't looked bad, but he pitches a lot, a lot of pitches per outing. Reyes has looked good, but when you're out there working the counts and working the corners, and I know they're doing everything they can to get the strikeout, and the strikeout is a sexy stat, but they also need to, trust the defense behind you. You've got some Gold Glovers in the infield. Worry about, getting the out more than, you're just wearing your arm out. Some of them are just wasted pitches that are in the dirt or not even close to the plate that they could be better than that. And I think they need to be.
Yeah, and some of the stuff about the pitchers going deep has come back to bite us. They wanted Gant to go further into the game and deeper than he actually probably should have. And and didn't pinch hit for him, recently, and it came back to bite us also, Larry. So the bad pitching has not only, affected the bullpen, but it's also affected the offense because they're trying to, get more innings out of the starters. And then obviously it's lacking in offense position for us. But, at some point in time, we have to start clicking in the starting rotation. We've been through it, on our third pass now. Things have to start kind of clicking in and, positions starting to get a little bit solidified. It's okay to have one or two swingmen, but whenever we have a, complete starting rotation that can't make it, into the sixth inning, it's got to be cause for concern.
Yeah, like I said, I think that right now, I think it's still that stretching out and getting everybody where they're supposed to be, and but I think a lot of it's just a growing pain. I mean, if you look at a lot of the big time stars, they've had that second or third year where they've had growing pains, or they get labeled, the future ace. Then that weighs on them. I remember one time Carlos Martinez was the ace of the future, and Wainwright was going to step back. And as soon as they gave him they gave him ace money, that's when his head case began, or he couldn't find the strike zone. But again, I tend to watch the games, I guess, from a different view than a lot of people. I always watch like where Yachty's setting up. If the pitcher's throwing where Yachty has the glove, do you blame the pitcher or do you blame the catcher? And so that's the thing. And I'm not trying to blame Yachty because, again, you want movement on the ball, you want a little action on the ball. I get that as well. But you see him set up now. You can't expect these young guys, like Chris said, to nitpick the corners and survive there because that's just not their game. Flaherty's going to come right at you. That was his original intent. Remember, he was the guy that was coming at you. He was Bob Gibson, because he was going to come after every hitter. And now you've got him trying to be a finesse pitcher, and he's trying to hit those corners and pitch inside and outside and up and down in the strike zone, which he should be learning. But if you're not hitting your spots, it doesn't do any good to set the glove 1 inch off the outside corner if he's missing by a foot. I trust the system. We've plugged those guys in. We found guys that make it work. And I think, again, it's a testament to our front office that we are competitive year in and year out because of the work that John Blazak has done over the years.
And at some point you have to start looking and, making changes on the fly because it's not working. And we don't know when Mikolas is going to come back. And if so, when Mikolas is going to show up, could be pre-Japan Mikolas, or it could be, the one that we signed to an extension who disappeared after that one season. So I guess we'll move on. We'll speak about performance. We'll talk about Matt Carpenter finally, after how many years, finally got a bunt single base hit the opposite direction because they had a huge shift on him. So he finally laid one down and it worked. It was simply amazing, Chris.
Yeah, it was a thing of beauty. I mean, to sit here and watch it, I almost want to do a damn cartwheel. It's like, why has this guy not at least tried it? And he has in the past, but just few and far between. I mean, you can't do it every time you come to the plate, and I get that. But when they give you that much room, and all you got to do is lay it down the line, and you're on first base. When you're struggling the way he is, you have to do that. Not every at bat, but do it several times to get them to, hey, we can't afford to do this. I mean, I know he enjoys to get the walks and the pitch counts up, and walk is the same as a base hit. You get a guy on first. But if you're going to continue to fly out, hit into the shift, you have to try something. And he did finally, and he laid it down. I think he's going to need to continue doing that here and there just to put that fear of they can't do that big of a shift on him. I mean, I think that's only going to help him out. So I was glad to see it. I'm sure everybody else was too. I mean, to get a hit, but to also it be a bunt hit is something he needed to be doing for a while now.
Yeah, it's nice to see him have some success regardless after the spring that he's had. The last couple of seasons haven't been what anyone expected or hoped for, and then to see him come out and at least get some performance and make a couple of things happen. It's been kind of nice to see. And Larry, we saw him, hit a 2-run home run earlier tonight, and then he had another RBI after, so he's had 3 RBIs on the night. But you got to be happy for Carp and happy that he's having a little bit of success here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a secret. I'm a Matt Carpenter fan. I've always said the guy's done everything this organization's ever asked of him to do. So for him to struggle, it was just ugly. It was just I mean, our patience have been tried. It's like, it's time to just call it a day and move on. But tonight was, again, Matt Carpenter of old. If he sustains this, and let's say he does play tomorrow night, and he does it again, then you start understanding why they kept that spot on and the faith in him that they have. So I think it's a good night and all. And like I said, the bunt, laying down the bunt, we've all beat that into our heads. Why does he not do it? And finally does it. So
speaking of production, guys, we talked about Edmund, but Goldschmidt and especially Arenado have also been performing really well. So it's the dynamic duo that everyone's always wanted. Now we have it, and it's paying off so far. Even more so in Arenado's case, but they look pretty good. Arenado looks locked in as a Cardinal. They both got home runs tonight, and they both have multiple hits for both of them this evening. And it looks like they're just trending upwards. And Edmund is kind of leading that charge in the leadoff spot. And Molina is also playing well. So the offense and certain, four of the guys are clicking. You got to be happy with what you're seeing so far. The trade has paid off, and we've got our 1-2 punch, and hopefully the rest of the order falls in suit. But, Cardinal Nation has to be happy with Arenado.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's awesome to see, Yachty have a hit streak, but, Arenado, had a pretty long hit streak, and he's looked good. Every game he's being consistent at the plate, and Goldschmidt too, even though his average isn't quite what Arenado's is. And, I'll be the first to admit on opening day, I was, taking a big gasp of, hoping that it wasn't a injury to Goldschmidt with him taking the day off and Carp playing first. I was just like, man, precautionary, I understand, but sometimes you hear that and it turns into a IL stint. And, but yeah, Arenado and Goldschmidt, defensively and offensively, I mean, that's going to be your two guys that are going to carry the club. And so far, it's two reliable bats. It just sometimes having them up at the, that 1-2 punch at the top of the lineup, it's a good thing. But it's what happens afterwards that can keep the ball rolling, keep the line moving. And so we've got to have some consistent bats by these other guys. But yeah, as far as those two, definitely carrying the club.
So Chris, what do you suggest you're making out the batting order in the lineup here? What do you think is a way to make that happen? What would you do if you're the manager? How would you mix that up?
Well, and we've talked at nauseum about having maybe Carlson in the 2 spot, but then you're looking at having 2 switch hitters, 1 and 2. I wouldn't be opposed to even leaving Goldschmidt batting second and maybe slotting Carlson at the 3 spot and Arenado a cleanup. I know that Shilt's kind of excuse is you want to have those guys have as many at-bats as possible, and that does push Arenado down a spot. But you'd like to think that, Goldschmidt, Carlson, or Edmund, one of the guys is going to get on base. So that would still leave Arenado getting a at-bat in the first inning. And I think that would allow Carlson to see some better pitches. And, that would be a pretty lethal 1 through 4. I mean, that does kind of leave, what behind you. Yachty could bat 5th, and he's been consistent. Then you're looking at maybe DeYoung 6th and what you have in Carpenter or whoever, rounding out the lineup. But I would plug Carlson in probably at the 3 spot. I know that isn't that popular of an answer. People say cleanup or second, but maybe 3 spot for Carlson.
Yeah, I think him being in the 2nd spot wouldn't really work out because then you'd have him and Edmund both switch hitting there. But, I even thought about what Larry said earlier about, putting DeYoung there, but then DeYoung strikes out a lot, but he would also get more pitches to hit. And you really want to try to get guys on base. But I could totally see, kind of like you said, maybe trying out Carlson for a couple of games, but DeYoung in the cleanup spot for us lately just hasn't been working out. I think he's, other than Carp, he's been one of the worst hitters on the team. And to have one of your worst, hitting players at the time in the cleanup spot consistently with no movement or trying to mix it up a little bit has been paying off for us, because then if you get the first 3 guys on base, if nobody behind, if you've got DeYoung and Carp, that's not going to scare a lot of people. Larry, what would you do to kind of mix up this offense? We've got Edmund, Goldschmidt, Arenado. They're playing well. They're hitting like they're supposed to. And Molina, how would you try to balance this lineup and maybe get some of these other guys jump started?
I think to drop DeYoung into the 2 spot just for a couple of games, maybe get him some of those fastballs that we want to see him hit, or even maybe drop Yachty to the 4th spot, put Carlson at number 5, then DeYoung 6th or 7th, just for an adjustment. Maybe see different pitches. Maybe the fact that the pitcher has already faced that many hitters, maybe fatigue. I don't know. It seems indicative of this team the last couple of years that away sliders and away they swing. I mean, you would think at some point, if you're not seeing the ball spin, that's when you want to hit. But, I'm just the guy sitting behind a podcast. What do I know about hitting major league pitchers? I don't like moving Arenado to the 5th spot. I just don't like that at all. I think that you're taking him down, then you're not having any protection behind him, which you really don't right now either. So, but I also see the differences that we do have to get these guys all involved now. They have to all start getting at bats, start hitting. Because if not, like we say repeatedly, you're not going to win championships in April, but you can sure in the hell lose one. And so right now, you look at Cincinnati, I mean, they're just crushing the ball. But then you look at their cross-state rivals, the Cubs, they have one of the worst batting averages in the entire league. So we cannot stay that middle ground right now. We have to keep up with the front two if we're going to win the division and get hopes of playing the postseason. So we can't let them get a big lead on us. So maybe it is time for some drastic changes in the batting order. Will Shildt do it? I doubt it. You know how he is.
Yeah, the Reds are looking pretty good, and I was a little afraid of them to start the year. They definitely have the bats, and you don't need good pitching if you're scoring 8 or 9 runs a game. But Carlson is 3 for 4 tonight with a walk. He's got the second highest OPS on the team behind Arenado. I think Arenado's 950 some, and Carlson is 850 some. So he's only 100 points behind, even better than Goldschmidt. So I think your idea, Chris, of trying to put him maybe in the 3 hole would be a good idea. He's our top ranked prospect. We want to get him going. Putting him in between those 2 guys would be good. Then you're only moving Arenado down 1 spot, and him having the highest OPS. That's probably where he should be anyways. And then you put Molina behind him, batting 5th, where Molina likes to hit. And then you've got DeYoung in the 6th hole, etc. And you could put Carp at 7. But again, tonight the lineup still, they're winning by a large margin. Here on Tuesday against the Nats. So I can't really nitpick it too much, but I still don't like the fact of having Carlson and Carp batting back to back because they're both from the same side of the plate. Then you've got Williams coming up right after. It doesn't make any sense to have the lineup that way when you're not going to kind of stagger it and at least give it a different bit of a look. And
they want to keep the line moving. That's the main thing. And maybe Shilt's way of thinking is if we put Carlson up there, then the bottom half of the lineup, you're really looking at Molina, then DeYoung and Carpenter. Well, if DeYoung and Carpenter had struggled like they had been, that's just easy outs, and, with Molina on the base paths, if he does get a hit, you're just clogging the base paths, there's probably a lot more that goes into it than just, us looking at certain numbers and saying, hell, this would work, throw it out there. But, at the same time, I don't know why he wouldn't at least try it. I mean, I don't see what it would hurt to maybe do that a game or 2, or even put Arenado batting 2nd and Goldschmidt, clean up just to tinker with something, and give Carlson that 3 spot for a week. If he continues, doing well, the team might benefit from it.
You put the 5 and 6 hitters together, or the 4 and 5 hitters together today, which is Carp and DeYoung. And with their batting average, with the hits they have tonight, they're batting .239, which would basically be worst on the team still with the 2 of them combined. And then even with Justin Williams having 2 hits today, he's still only batting .217, but they keep running him out there as well. At least you have Dean hitting .270, and Nagowski hasn't got a fair shake. So my whole thing is that bottom half of the order, that's our biggest problem is, we come out and Edman and Goldschmidt and Arenado look good, and then nobody does anything after Molina does, and it's pretty much they're Flaherty's hitting 200. So you've got a bunch of pitchers you're throwing to. So I do think, maybe trying to mix it up. It's still early. So someone has a couple of good games. Obviously they could go out and, turn that around. And we all know DeYoung is very streaky. He might have a week where he bats 500 and then he'll bat 100 the next week. So I don't know. I kind of liked your idea of trying to move, Carlson up, and think Molina's going to perform wherever, but I like seeing Molina in that 5th or 6th spot just because he's capable of doing damage with runners on. He always puts together a good at bat. I mean, he doesn't scare you, but he looks really good this year. So, speaking of which, guys, we got Yachty. He's about to have his, 2000th game. Only 6 catchers in the history of Major League Baseball have caught that many games behind the plate. Yachty will become the one and only to do it with one team. Pretty amazing feat. He didn't do it this evening because they want that game to be with his battery mate, to be Adam Wainwright and not Jack Flaherty. So it's pretty special, pretty impressive. Just another great accomplishment and achievement by Yachty that we take for granted. And, Cardinal fans should, sit back and relish in the moment whenever they see him play tomorrow, which this game will, this will air probably right around then or right after his, we've got to take advantage of Yachty for a very long time. And a lot of people don't have that. So, we should enjoy it, take it in and be appreciative, but it's a pretty amazing feat, isn't it, Chris?
Oh yeah. And really tonight, I had to catch myself on realizing that the reason why you're benching Yachty, giving him a day off, is so that he does get paired up with Wainwright. And also, we've talked about all off season how we want Kisner to get, a day here and there. So I caught myself saying, hell, Yachty's on this hitting streak. Yeah, don't bench him. He's got to keep the hit streak going. He's got a hot bat. But it makes sense. And really, he's performing at that high level. I mean, he played a lot of reps during spring training, didn't take any off, and he's played the majority of the time already this season. And he really doesn't look like he's going to be ready to hang him up at the season's end either. So if he can keep this up, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he comes back for another season next year.
And with his production level, I wouldn't mind seeing him come back. We've talked about this again, and whether you play in a big fantasy league like we do or not, you see, finding players that can perform even at a minuscule level at the catcher level is pretty impressive, and he's still doing so. And is one of the best in the league currently this year, even though it's, we're just a short ways into the season. He's performing well. He's already got a home run. He's caught every single inning pretty much except for today's game. And he looks pretty good, Larry.
Yeah, I admit I was one of those guys that I was wanting to see the future come around, and it's time for Yachty to just kind of hang it up, I thought. So I'll eat crow and I'll admit to it. I'm big enough to admit it. The guy's just been phenomenal for us, and we've enjoyed a lot of career guys from Gibby, Red, but in our lifetime, it's been Yachty. We always wanted to see Albert finish here as well, but he's played. He's had 7,149 at bats. He's got 2,013 hits. He's got 162 home runs, and his career batting average is 282. And this is a guy that was known for his glove when he first came up. This is a guy that nobody ever expected him to be a hitter. They just thought, this guy's got a glove, he's got the arm. The first couple of years, I bitched about him just like I did Gritchick or O'Neill or Bader. This guy's not going to be anything other than a glove. And he's proved me wrong. I'll admit it. I've enjoyed him, watching him call the games. The hardest part, seeing your guys get older. The lack of movement from him this last couple seasons is really, I guess, why my mind was where it was. But for him to do the 2,000 games behind the plate and knowing that he's going to do it with Waino tomorrow night, that makes it even more special, I think, to me. Because we even talked about last year when we thought that last year would be their last year together. We kind of hoped they would go out together and throw that final pitch and walk off the diamond together and call it a career. But we're glad we get to see that at least one more season with the two of them together. It's hard to imagine one without the other now at this point. I mean, they're so interlaced in their careers. So it is special. I mean, and then him to being the only one that's got the 2,000 games behind the plate with a single team means that's a huge testament to our organization as well. We keep those guys that have meant well to this team, the franchise.
Yeah, it's super impressive, and it's been awesome that, I feel privileged to have been able to watch him since he made his major league debut, and, God willing, I'm going to watch him finish it out. So whenever he chooses for that to be, it will be pretty remarkable. He's had an amazing career. And this is just another, feather in his cap and another, milestone and accolade on his wall. So it is pretty impressive. Chris, why don't you give us a quick rundown on the page in the group and how things are going on that end?
Both are still growing, at a high rate. You're getting to see a lot of new members that as soon as they jump in, and they'll say, "Man, I thought this was a fan group," because sometimes when players struggle, like Matt Carpenter, those posts tend to turn away some fans. And we always say, it's not our job to tell you how to fan. We prefer everything to be rainbows and butterflies, but there's going to be times where you call players out, as long as it's constructive criticism, that's what it's all about. But sharing their fandom, the page and the group are both growing. A lot of interactions with them all tuning into the YouTube channel. And we reached 500 subscribers last week, right when we hit opening day. So that's pretty exciting too, and kind of a testament to how many of the group members and page followers kind of are showing some interest in the podcast. So that's a big accolade there. Is in a short time, 500 subscribers. That might not seem like a lot to some, but that is a pretty good following.
It is a lot. It's according to normal statistics for YouTube, we shouldn't be there at this point. We should be at about 48 because they said it would take several months to get to 100. So here we are, 2 months. We're at over 500. So things are going well. We appreciate the support from everyone. And Chris, how's the Cardinal cuts coming along? Are you still doing the cuts? You still throwing the cuts out? What's going on with the cuts?
I need to get on the ball with that. The last one we put out was the Facebook Live. I admit, getting kind of caught up with some daily life. I know, slacking.
Well, you are kind of slacking off.
I did put the post out and got some questions, so I'm going to record that tomorrow and put that out. But yeah, that's doing well. Also had a lot of good feedback with it. And that's just a way to engage and interact with the group members. It's not anything that's too over the top. They just throw some questions, and I do my best to giving a fan perspective type of answer. So it's enjoyable to get to know group members that way.
Yeah, well, get back on the horse here. We also have on the 22nd of April, we're going to do a YouTube live show. It's going to be Conversation with the Nation. It's going to be a roundtable show. We've done it before, where we just kind of have a group consensus and questions and outlook. And Chris is probably going to do some over-unders. So stay tuned and try to keep an eye out for that coming up. And coming up next for the Cardinals, they play tomorrow against the Nats, who it looks like they're going to go ahead and beat tonight. That's going to put us at 6-5. And then they've got the off day on Thursday, which is podcast release date. Woo, woo, woo. And then we're going to head into Philadelphia to play the Phillies for a short series for Friday through Sunday to take on, Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto and the rest of the Phillies, and which we will see Kim make his return. And then we will head to the District of Columbia to take on the Nationals Monday through Wednesday when we'll be recording our next podcast. So we got the Nats, the Phils, and the Nats. So not a ton of games in between this podcast and the next one. So we'll be able to dive in a little bit more. But hopefully the Cardinals are doing well. And after today's set of games, the Phillies are 6-5, which it looks like the Cardinals are going to be as well. So maybe a couple of evenly matched teams. But I always like when we go into Philadelphia, it takes me back to the Roy Halladay and Shane Victorino and Jason Worth type of days when we used to have some pretty good matchups with those guys. So there's a lot of nostalgia to me. I enjoy watching those games.
Yeah, when I think of the Cardinals playing the Phillies, I go way back to the John Kruk and Lenny Dykstra and those kind of eras. But
well, you're fucking old.
Yeah, I know. This beard shows it too. I was going to ask.
Me and Larry weren't around for those fucking games. It's recent for us.
Young pups.
Larry remembers Raul Ibanez and those guys and Pat Burrell. And that's all. We that's when we started watching.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I know you guys probably caught last night's game, which would have been for those tuning in, it would have been Monday's game. But as we were getting beat, did you guys hear in the crowd the amount of Ric Flair woos from the crowd that Danny Mac had to point out of, damn, are these guys lit up or what?
Yeah.
pretty entertaining.
It was
Now,
great
Tina,
for a loss.
Yeah, Tina, on the other hand, she's like, why are those idiots doing that? I said, hey, if we were at that game, I probably would have wooed too.
Yeah. I would do a lot of woos. The wooing is going to be around forever. It's never going away. Even after Ric Flair is long gone, people are going to be wooing till the end of time.
I believe so.
Well, I guess that's pretty much it. I don't have anything else unless you guys have anything in closing that wanted to bring up or mention. And we're closing out this game here, and it looks like we're going to go to the bullpen here and get ready to close out the podcast. Larry, anything in closing, my friend?
Nope. I'm finally glad to see the bats woke up. Now, if we can just maybe at least get half those tomorrow night too. So,
fucking Lance Lynn is still killing it. Now for another team. He's on the White Sox and still doing well, playing for Tony La Russa. It looks like Jed Jerko has retired as well. It looks like he's making his way out of Major League Baseball.
He's going to be a manager.
Yeah.
What's that?
He's going to manage. What is the Major League?
Yeah, he's going to manage like some new Major League development league.
Yeah.
Some kind of draft, development type league, which is pretty cool. Sad to see that he's retiring so cool. I thought somebody would pick him up somewhere. He could be a player for someone. He still had decent success.
Did you see where the Angels, our former outfielder Dexter Fowler, out for the season, and then they go and I believe they just signed John Jay today.
Yeah, John Jay was I can't remember. He was with a team. I think it might have been the White Sox himself, and he didn't make it and was released. And I was going to mention Dexter Flower as well. Yeah, towards ECL, which sucks for him.
6 to 9 months out, so he's pretty much retired, I would assume.
Yeah, gotta feel bad for him though, and then to see Jed leave and stuff. At least Jay picked up a spot, so it's good to see that.
Rosarena doing well, and Grichuk's doing well. Scotty's kind of getting some here and there playing time. So, there's some guys out there.
Yeah, Voigt's still on the injured list for the Yankees.
Rosenthal's out for quite a while.
Rosenthal's hurt. Fam's playing for San Diego still. So, a lot of former Cardinals in the league. For everybody that's trying to pay attention, go check them out. We don't talk about them too much, but Lance Lynn is just tearing it up. If you could go back in time and sign that guy, and he wanted to stay with the Cardinals, and he couldn't find a team. And now look at him; he's been a machine the last couple of years. He just throws fastballs, and he crushes Mike Trout. I was looking at the Mike Trout numbers; he shuts him down with fastballs. And Mike Trout is the best fastball hitter in all of Major League Baseball, but not against Lance Lynn. It's crazy. That John Boy Media, if you guys ever check him out or anybody watching, he does all the videos. He does some pretty cool stuff, and they're pretty damn funny. He did a little thing on Lance Lynn, striking out Trout basically.
Yeah, his commentary is always hilarious. I loved his version of that
fight.
Well, yeah, the fight,
Yeah.
and then with even in the spring training when Yachty picked off that guy at first base, he did that video, and yeah, he always does some great commentary. It's hilarious.
He was like, "Here's this guy coming out of the bullpen against the Reds. This guy I don't know who this guy is, but he's wearing more eyeliner than any woman that I know, and he did look like he had some eyeliner on."
Yeah.
We have 500 subscribers here on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, Cardinals Nation 24/7. We've got the group and the page, so if you'd like to interact with other Cardinals fans, then the group is the place for you. You can post about the team and opinions, ask questions. If you just want to get the straight to the nitty-gritty and find out the actual news and lineups, etc., then go to the page, because we're the only ones that post on there, but then anyone can comment. Check us out here on YouTube. Please like and subscribe and share and tell your friends. We do appreciate the support. The page is growing rather quickly on YouTube, and we do appreciate all of the support from everybody, and it means a lot to us. So thank you very much. Chris, you got anything you want to say in closing?
I'll just kind of go off what you said. It's awesome that 500 subscribers, Facebook page and group both doing well, and we're creeping up on 40,000 group members, and I'm sure we'll hit that here shortly. But it's just it's awesome to share fandom with that many people that we wouldn't get a chance to know otherwise. So we appreciate everybody's support, and do hope they like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so they get notified each time we put an episode out.
Yep. Larry, you good?
Good. Go Cardinals.
Go Cards. Jared, Larry, and Chris. Good night. Go Cards. See you next week.
All that is going to be forever. And I'm like,
I don't have any Cardinals on my fucking team. I had Ponce, and he fucking got railed.
I picked up Gomber today just because he's a reliever that might get some innings. But he's got the Dodgers coming up, so they're going to kick his ass.
Oh, God.
They moved Gomber to the bullpen?
No, he's listed as a reliever.
Oh,
and yeah.
Because you got to get 5 starts or whatever.
Yeah. Say Carpenter now with his first hit being a bunt, now with a home run.
I did want to talk. I had Carpenter bunt wrote down because it only took him 3 fucking years.
Yeah.
They were saving it for the right time.
All right. We get the kids ready.
All right, let me get away from the blowjob cam here.
Turn it sideways. Do it right.
Sometimes we like it.
We tried that.
He turned it sideways.
Close enough?
A little closer. Cruz turn.
Yeah.
Yellow.
Oh no, brown cow.
Justin Williams singles in the 5th. Woo! I told you it was due. Scores a run.
It's a good outtake.
I was going to say, we're working on our outtakes right now that Jared pops in there at the end. I was watching this last one, and at the end, I'm like, come on, guys, motherfuckers. And he's like, what did you just say? And I'm like, he leaves some of that shit in. I don't know he's going to do it.
I try to watch it when I say because I know he records it. It's been recording the whole time I've been on.
All right.
All right.